Welcome to the Going OB Golf podcast. See this recording thing? Sometimes it wants headphones, sometimes it doesn't want headphones.
All good. All's good.
Very, very temperamental. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, thanks very much for taking the time to kind of jump on and have a chat with me. I know it's maybe slightly outside what you would normally do to come on a golf podcast, but yeah, it's all to do with balls and talking about balls and what have you. So came across the Oddballs Foundation online, had a look into it, had a bit of not a scare last year, but found something myself when having a check. So I went along to the doctors. They sent me for a scan. It turned out I had those varicles, so just basically veins, like varicose veins, but on the testicles, obviously. But it was a bit of a frightening experience when you first have a bit of a check and you're like, oh my God, what's happened in there? So yeah, had a bit of a look up into you guys. Really love the kind of bright colours and how you're trying to kind of push that message from there. So I thought I would reach out to you, see if you fancied coming on, get a bit of a chat. My main audience is men between the age of 20 and 50. So I think I'm right in the wheelhouse of where people should be checking. So yeah, thank you. That was a very long-winded introduction I did there, but thanks very much for taking the time to come on today. And yeah, I'd just like to find out a bit more about Oddballs.
Yeah, well, look, thank you very much for having me. And first and foremost, for sharing your experience there. Those experiences are very common. I had a similar experience a couple of years ago, actually, where I thought, what a coincidence working for the Oddballs Foundation, and I come across something on my testicles that doesn't feel usual. I went and got checked out, had an ultrasound scan too, like it sounds like you did, and turns out what I had just a cyst, and it wasn't of clinical concern, but something just to keep an eye on. But yeah, look, the Oddballs Foundation, we're proud to be the UK's leading charity raising awareness of testicular cancer, which sort of, as you reference, is actually the leading cancer in men between the ages of 15 and 49 in the UK. But it's also highly treatable and curable when detected early. So our message really revolves around encouraging men of all ages, but particularly within that sort of younger demographic, to start checking themselves regularly. After a warm shower, you're sort of looking for lumps, bumps, changes in size, anything that doesn't feel normal to your body. Familiarizing yourself with your body. So if you do discover something that changes, you can hopefully detect it early, and then having the confidence to book an appointment with your doctor and take the proactive steps to get it properly checked out. Because as we know, it's very curable when detected early, but there is this stigma around testicular cancer and men in particular talking about their health. So what we're trying to do is help normalize that conversation and ultimately help save lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it is very important. I'm a big advocate for, obviously doing the podcast, but having conversations about things. So mental health as well is a big thing. I want to try and do a bit on that this year, because you are out and about on a golf course with people for a good number of hours, 3-4 hours. You're not going anywhere. It's a good time to open up and have a bit of a conversation about this. And I did do that at the time when we were walking, and I was saying to them, I've got to go to the hospital tomorrow to get my balls checked because I've found this wee bit. And it's amazing when you start speaking to people, the amount of guys that say, actually, I had a similar thing and I went to the doctors about stuff. So it is becoming more normalised that we can talk about it, but there is still the kind of stigma of I'm not speaking about it because there's potentially something wrong with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, as you say, it is beginning to become more of a normalised conversation, which is fantastic. And ultimately that's what we want. But there are still lots of people out there who either don't have the awareness around what you're meant to be looking for when you're checking and what might not be right, but also having the confidence to speak up. But, in my role, having spoken to so many men who have been diagnosed with testicular cancer over the years, one of the big things that a lot of people say is often the hardest step is having that first conversation, either with a friend, a family member, or directly with a doctor. But once they've had that conversation, it's like a big weight has lifted off their shoulders and they feel like they've got someone who can support them through it, or to the doctor, and everything's in motion in terms of getting it properly checked out. So speaking about these topics which do have like a taboo, if you will, is what we need to do, because it becomes a conversation that you can't really avoid, and people don't get afraid of it or worried about having the conversations, as you say, like on the golf course, whether you're with a group of mates or whether you're playing with someone in a competition that you've not played before, you are with each other for a long period of time. Obviously 18 holes. So yeah, it's a perfect place to sort of start those conversations and help make them easier to have, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was kind of my thinking, and I know I'd kind of sent you a couple of ideas of stuff that I kind of fancied going forward. It's just I've got a pal who he tests different golf balls all the time, right? Like he'll try different ones. He's a good player, so he can tell the difference between all these type of things. So yeah, guys are so hung up on what type of golf ball they're playing or how they've marked it to be able to identify it on the course.
Yeah.
But I bet the percentage of them that would actually check themselves is very low. So yeah, I thought there was definitely a kind of a bit of work that could be done around about that. So yeah, I wanted to kind of find out a bit more about the charity, see if there's anything that we could do a bit of work together, anything that we can to try and kind of raise some awareness. I know you have a university ambassador program, which I am obviously not a university student, so it's a bit different. But how does that work?
Yeah, well, I suppose first and foremost, it's probably worth, I know we've jumped into some of these conversations, but probably worth having a little step back and giving you a bit of an explanation as to how the Oddballs Foundation was created. It's we've had quite I suppose, an interesting 10 years as a charity, and it all stemmed back from 2014, where Oddballs, the underwear brand, was created, and as a business, Oddballs now is one of the largest underwear brands in the UK, and if not globally. Initially, they set up as an underwear brand with an intention of raising awareness of testicular cancer through their underwear. They were using the underwear as a vehicle to get people talking. And I suppose a USP of their business was that they would donate proceeds from their sales to testicular cancer charities within the UK. When they first set up, they did that and had a really successful launch, and made a donation to testicular cancer charities. But they thought probably makes sense from a business model, but also having control over where that money gets spent, that we set up our own foundation. So they set up the Oddballs Foundation a year later in 2015 as a separate entity to the business. So you had Oddballs, the underwear brand, the Oddballs Foundation, the charity, but they sort of worked closely together. Over the years, Oddballs, the business, now supports a wide range of different charities. So they don't just stand for testicular cancer. They've support motor neurone disease with My Name's Doddy Foundation, Stand Up for Racism within the football space, and loads of different sort of cancer charities and all sorts of charities and championing great causes, which is amazing. And the Oddballs Foundation now has sort of taken on that mantle of raising awareness of testicular cancer and driving that message. Over the years, through the Oddballs Foundation, I actually first got involved when I was at university. So I was down at Exeter University, and the charity sort of set up this university ambassador program where students could apply to be an ambassador, volunteer for the charity, and essentially what it involves is going into schools, workplaces, in and around the community, delivering talks to help raise awareness of testicular cancer. And we're really trying to target sort of students of a school age, because we feel that if we can help instill some good habits and the correct information around self-checking, what you're meant to be looking for at a younger age, and it's a skill and a habit that hopefully these children are going to take with them for the rest of their lives. But also going into the workplace, you'd be frightened of the amount of men who don't check themselves regularly. It's quite astonishing, and it's something that's so easy to do after a shower. But our ambassadors are doing a brilliant job at navigating that and educating people all over the UK and over in Ireland as well as sort of the talks that our ambassadors do. They go into or they attend sort of events within their communities that they may get invited to support them, helping with fundraising, putting on their own fundraising events, as well as sort of helping us from a charity perspective with our social media across our platforms that we can use and try and engage people through sort of that medium. But yeah, the Oddballs Foundation has grown quite rapidly over the last couple of years, and a big part of that is down to the growth of our university ambassador program and the presence that our students have in their cities. So yeah, it's become a really powerful tool for us to reach hundreds of thousands of people through like the talks alone, but also through the events that we're going to, and the presence across social media. So our ambassador program is brilliant, and I graduated university and had an opportunity to join the Oddballs Foundation as a sort of full-time member of staff, and my role has sort of gone from the sort of grassroots, like to call it, of the charity, and now I'm in a position where I'm leading the charity, and it's been an exciting sort of six or so years.
Yeah, no, it's great, and like you said, it's it was great that the company were involved in the first instance, and then they are helping out with other other causes and stuff like that as well. I've actually got my body hat here.
Oh.
It hangs on my bit up here, and when it gets a bit cold, and I'm nipping out for a few, we stick the hat on. So my wife would have preferred if I'd have bought a bobble hat or a cap. She says with the old man style hat that we've got, but it's instantly recognisable. That particular tartan's instantly recognisable, as is the stuff for the Oddballs Foundation, because it's so bright and in your face that you can't help but not notice it, which I suppose is one of the good kind of selling points of it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, really. So the Oddballs Foundation's branding is called Hippie Jungle, and it was actually the first underwear that Oddballs, the business, ever created. That design now has sort of been taken over by the Oddballs Foundation, and we try and plaster it everywhere, and it's become quite an iconic pattern. People see it and sort of immediately sort of know who we are, or if they don't know who we are, they see the pattern, and it's because it's so out there and colourful. It does get people talking, and that's essentially the purpose of it, is to get people talking and bring a bit of colour to a conversation that is typically quite difficult to have.
Yeah. So, as I said, I just wanted to kind of get you on, give you a bit more of a different platform to kind of have a conversation and get that out there. So I had a quick look at your website. Is that the best place for people to find you and find information about how they can check themselves? I know you kind of covered it when we spoke about it, but I know you've got a good kind of visual poster that puts up to kind of show you exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, so our website at the minute is just going through a bit of a development, but it should be live again with the revamp within the next week or so. So yeah, head over to www.theoddballsfoundation.com or search Oddballs Foundation into Google or sort of any search engine, and you'll hopefully find us at the top. On that page, on our website, there is a page that we have as called Check Yourself. Essentially demonstrates our Check Yourself guide, which is a step-by-step guide showing people how to check themselves, when they should be doing it, why they should be doing it, some of the key facts around testicular cancer, and ultimately encouraging people to be proactive with any concerns that they may have by booking an appointment with your doctor. As well as our website, we're active across all social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, X. So yeah, we try and have a good footprint across every platform that we can do, because ultimately we truly believe that every contact counts, and we regularly receive messages from members of the public who say, we saw this post, or we saw one of your Check Yourself guides in the toilet at our local sports club, and it encouraged me to check myself, and I've discovered something, so just reaching out to say thank you. So you never really know what impact you're going to have, but it's always worth trying to cover as many spaces as possible.
Yeah, and I see you have a Just Giving page on there as well. And what about sort of merchandise? Is there somebody can get the merchandise, or is that just through Oddballs and that filters its way through? How does that work?
Yeah, so for us as a charity, we rely heavily upon sort of community fundraising or people supporting us, and people can do that either through Just Giving, or there's a few other platforms that we use as well, GiveStar, Infuse. That's sort of the three big ones that we would use from a donation perspective. But if people are looking for specific merchandise, that would all need to be bought through Oddballs, the underwear brand, and you can search that up with www.myoddballs.com and you'll come up with the business's website. We do have a licensing agreement with the business that any underwear of the Hippie Jungle brand is, or branding, I should say, that's bought, there is a percentage of those sales that then support the Oddballs Foundation too. So, it's all sort of very clearly listed on either Oddballs' website or the Oddballs Foundation's website. But all the support is always hugely appreciated. And ultimately, we wouldn't be able to do what we do as a charity without that sort of support. So we're hugely appreciative.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll put everything in the show notes and people can pick up on that. I'll make sure all the links and stuff are visible for folks. So you said you played a wee bit of golf yourself, but nothing to write home about, really. No.
When I grew up, I was fortunate to play quite regularly actually over the summers. My parent, either one of my parents would. I've got two older brothers and would drop us at the local golf course where we were members, and they'd go off to work and we'd play as many holes as we could in the day, and then they'd come back and pick us up after they'd finished work. So when I grew up, I was playing, particularly over the summer months, most days. And I got to become quite a handy golfer. But over the years, I'm a rugby player myself. So over the years, rugby's sort of taken over, and I try and play where possible, whether it's in the UK or on the odd trip potentially. But I would like to play more often. If I were to go out on the course now, I'd probably be like a mid to high teens handicap player. So with a bit of time and consistency, I'd be confident I could get down to some good numbers. But as I'm sure you're aware, it's all about consistency, isn't it, and playing regularly. So I'd love to. Well, when I'm older, I will definitely be out on the course very regularly. But at the moment, it's just
that's the thing. It's also a sport that doesn't age. So you can do that. Some people do play at a young age and then kind of give up when they go into work and family life and things like that. And then once they start getting that a bit older, they're like, I'll pick it back up again. And there's not as many knocks to the head as you would get on the rugby pitch and stuff. So it's more of a safer option, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a couple of rugby injuries over the years, and hopefully my body will, when I eventually hang up my boots, my body will still be in one piece to be able to swing a club. But I do enjoy golf. I enjoy it a lot from a social sort of element, but also the sort of the focus and concentration that it requires. I've always been a sort of a keen sportsman, so I'm quite competitive when it comes to that.
Good stuff. Well, Kieran, that, like I said, that was all. It was just to kind of get you on, get the message out there. I'll make sure to put all the links in your socials up. People can go and have a look at that. And anybody that wants to support you, there's GoFundMe pages and anything on the Oddballs site from the Hippie Jungle range.
Yeah,
the money will filter back. So, any last message for my listeners?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on. I think, as I said, whatever platform that we can get on to speak about is important, because you don't know who you're going to reach. But I suppose from an ending point, we, as the Oddballs Foundation, really try and drill home 3 key words, and hopefully it helps people remember to check themselves more regularly. And those 3 words are check, detect, and act. Quite sort of straightforward in what they mean, but we're encouraging people to check themselves at least once a month after a warm shower. Detect is all about familiarizing yourself with your body so that you can detect any changes early. And the action is probably one of the key ones, is having that confidence to take the step and book an appointment with your doctor, because ultimately we know that testicular cancer is very treatable when detected early. But unfortunately, not enough people are taking that step, so it could leave them in a worse position later on down the line. So check, detect, act, 3 words to close on from our point.
Perfect. I won't say anything else. I'll leave that as the lasting words for the listeners. So check, detect, and act. Thanks very much, Kieran.
Thanks, Craig.
Cheers.